Live presentation for the Sunday Oakmont Symposiums. If I can ask you please to take your cell phones out and either turn them off altogether and be liberated from your phones, or just put them on the silent mode, please. I vote you turn them off. Do we have any Oakmont announcements? How about you Zoomers? Any announcements? Well, that's easy. I do want to remind you that we are right in the middle of voting here for our board. It's probably too late for you to vote and drop it in the mail. We do have an annual meeting coming up. I believe it's on Tuesday? Monday, thank you. 10 a.m., thank you. And if you have not voted, you may drop your ballot at that time. In the burger, thank you. And I want to say hi to all you Zoomers. Hi, Zoomers. Hello there, we miss you. Please come back. Come back to us. We miss your energy. Next week's speaker, oh my gosh, this is going to light you up. We have Andrew Fracknoy, am I saying it correctly? And he's going to be talking about the best places in the universe to take a trip to. This is an internationally known speaker. This is going to blow you out. This is not going to be recorded. We want to welcome everybody to come here to Burger and see some of his presentation on the big screen. So we hope to see you here next week. It's going to be really fun. Okay. Our next portion of today will be, I'm bringing up George McKinney. George is the president of the Oakmont Sunday Symposium and has been running it all the time during this pandemic and keeping all the cats herded and been doing a magnificent job. Thanks, George, for doing such a good job.
Well, for those of us who've been living through this last 2 years of nonsense, okay, it's nice to at least be back here for a moment or two. So 2 years ago, our beloved head of speakers retired from the symposium, and we were going to thank him very much for having been so helpful in setting up what we've set up for the symposium. And then COVID happened. So we've been waiting for a time, and I finally have said this has to be it. So Gordon, could we have you up here for a moment?
Let's give Gordon an Oscar. Give him an Oscar. Give Gordon an Oscar.
George, we can't hear you.
He's not talking.
Okay,
Thank you.
you come up, please.
Come on, Karen, you're in.
You're in.
Up, Karen, up.
Well, you're in.
Pass down.
Now, for those who don't know Karen, Karen is Gordon's companion, and she was on the board too. And her job was to keep him in line. And she was very, very good at it. So, two things. First, get a picture.
Don't get up there, Karen. You're not done yet with you. Would you please hold the microphone, George?
In appreciation, we have a lifetime pass for each of you. And you get the little one, Gordon. Ah. Yes. Okay. Now, in addition to that, we have this. Thank you, Gordon. You helped create today's symposium and gave us great speakers. There you go. And finally, a little something for you all to enjoy later in the day. There you go. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, it was so. My name is George.
Wasn't that fun? These guys did a lot of work for Symposium. Is that you, Vic? Good to see you. I'd like to introduce our speaker. Has anybody, and you Zoomed people too, has anybody actually seen Kai do this presentation for their Oscars? Yeah, okay, good. So we don't have to do much of an introduction here. Kai was raised in Great Falls, Montana, and he's a proprietor of the Rialto Cinemas. He opened the much beloved Rialto Cinemas Lakeside location on East Santa Rosa and Santa Rosa in January 2000. Was that right, Kai? Somewhere you got it there? Okay. And then, as you know now, he is over in Sebastopol. And was that 2012 you started over there? Yes. 2012 over in Sebastopol. And as many of you have been, it's one of the most delightful theater experiences that you can have in Sonoma County. He operates Rialto Cinemas Elmwood in Berkeley and Rialto Cinemas Cerrito and El Cerrito, California also. It says here that, Kai, that your favorite movie is All That Jazz, Diva, The Aristocrats. Is that, am I getting these right? The Aristocats. Oh, Aristocats, of course, from Disney, yeah, which you saw in kindergarten. That's what it says here on my bio for you. So, but you know, this is Kai's 20th visit to the Sunday Symposium, and he's been doing a Oscar recap for us for 15 years. And I hope you can see me. I'm going to come over to here, and I want to thank Vic Spears, who brought Kai to us, so you can all see him. There he is. That's what he looks like from behind. And it's so good to see you. Okay. Kai, come on up here and let's have some fun today.
Okay. All right. It's so nice to see all of you, and nice to see all of you in Zoom land too. Thank you for joining us. This is a little weird, going back and forth. So before we get into the nitty-gritty about the Oscars, I wanted to talk a little about the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences that, you know, nominates the Oscars. And who is the Academy? Well, there are 9,487 eligible voting members of the Academy this year. And the Academy has grown by 65% from a decade ago. They've had a real push to increase the membership, diversify the membership, and make the membership much more international than being, you know, just an industry town, LA kind of membership. And one of the things that you always hear when people are talking about the Oscars is that the actors are the largest branch of the Academy. Well, I came across some information and it kind of surprised me. Who do you think the second largest branch of the Academy is? Anyone got a guess? Music was not the answer. No, the money's close. The second largest branch is short films and feature animation. Now, why those two things are together, I don't totally understand, but that is the second largest branch. The third largest branch is studio executives. And the fourth largest branch is producers, which would be the money. And then visual effects, and then marketing and public relations. Directors are way down the list, and writers are below directors. So just, you know, something to consider when you're looking at how the Academy nominates things and how they vote, that, you know, it's real interesting to me that, you know, the writers and directors aren't further up the list. So the short films bit really surprised me. So anyway, that was it. How many of you have seen any of this year's 10 Best Picture nominees? Okay. How many of you have seen all of them? Okay, we have a winner. Give that man a pass. Yeah, for those of you on Zoom, the people in the audience here are going to win some passes, but you don't get passes because you're not here. So there was a poll recently about surveying how many of the Best Picture nominees most Americans have seen. And the answer was 2. It was really disappointing. This is one of the lowest grossing set of Oscar nominees that we've had. And this is a Zoom question for those of you. There are 15 choices in this question. And so the idea is to identify the 5 films that are not nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture. So I'm not going to say what the Best Picture nominees are right now. We're gonna skip around a little. I do a lot of reading as we get towards the Oscars, partly for this and partly because at our Oscar party, which I'm hosting later today, we do all sorts of trivia. And when I'm talking about the Academy and their diversity, in the 94-year history of the Oscars, besides Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor, there is one category that has never been won by a woman. Any guesses? Cinematography. And only 2 female cinematographers have ever been nominated for cinematography out of 500 nominees. And they are Rachel Morrison, who shot 2017's Mudbound, and now I can't find her name. Ari Wegner, who shot Power of the Dog for Jane Campion. So, and when you think about in the 30s through the 60s, the Oscars had 2 cinematography categories. They had Best Cinematography Black and White and Best Cinematography Color. And it's taken until 2017 for a woman cinematographer to be nominated. And maybe this year we'll see the first woman winner in cinematography. So there you go. I'm a wealth of useless trivia. Okay, one of the other things about this group of nominees is they're some of the least watched Best Picture nominees we've had in a while. Part of this has to do with how streaming has impacted movie theater going. How many of you have been to the movie theater this year? Yay, all of you. Congratulations, I love you. How about in Zoom land? How many of you have been to the movie theater? Wonderful. Okay. The most, and you know, one of the things that's been challenging for us as a movie theater, or me as a movie theater operator, is that Hollywood has made so many of the films available on streaming simultaneous to in-theater viewing, or you know, very close to in-theater viewing. So there were some numbers that came out, and Nightmare Alley is of the Best Picture nominees, Nightmare Alley is the most watched film on streaming. 3.1 million people have streamed it. And I should say, the trick about streaming numbers is you only have to watch 5 minutes of something to be counted as having to have viewed it. It's a really, you know, I don't know, it doesn't seem quite right to me. West Side Story is second with 1.9 million. Actually, these aren't in order. Okay, I have to correct some things here. Okay, Don't Look Up is the most streamed movie, which is on Netflix at 10.3 million. and then Dune at 5.3 million, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog at 3.4, King Richard, 2.6 million streams, West Side Story, 1.9 million streams, and Coda, which very well may win Best Picture, has been streamed by less than 1 million people. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's on Apple TV versus, to use a bad pun, the power of Netflix. Because, you know, Power of the Dog's on Netflix, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, because Netflix has 75 million reported subscribers. Apple TV has less than 20 million. So it's an interesting thing. But when you look at the box office of the Best Picture nominees, the best grossing Best Picture nominee in movie theaters was Licorice Pizza. And it was available only in movie theaters. The second best was West Side Story, which was not available in not available on streaming for a number of months. Belfast, Drive My Car, and then Nightmare Alley, Dune, and King Richard. So there we go. And that, by the way, is viewed in movie theaters in the Oscar nomination period, not total lifetime in theatrical. So sorry, this is not my best hour of the day. I think we've covered that. So I think I'm gonna take some questions. So do we have a questioner microphone? It's coming. The gentleman who's seen all the Best Picture nominees.
Kai, explain why Licorice Pizza became a theater-only distribution.
It was distributed by United Artists Releasing, and United Artists, we love United Artists because all of their movies have gone strictly to movie theaters first and before they've gone on streaming. So how many of you saw the Jennifer Hudson, Aretha Franklin biopic, Respect, which was very good, I thought. I was surprised she wasn't nominated. That was United Artists, as was No Time to Die, the James Bond movie, and Licorice Pizza, and there's another one that is escaping me at the moment. But United Artists has been very committed to the movie theater experience, and it makes sense because a lot of their filmmakers are more theatrically driven, and there was a bit of controversy around No Time to Die because there was a faction that really wanted to put No Time to Die out on streaming, and Barbara Broccoli, who's the producer of the Bond movies, replacing her father, Cubby Broccoli, said, absolutely not. You know, this will not go on streaming before it goes in movie theaters. Bond movies will always premiere in movie theaters. And so that's something that, you know, the exhibition community quite applauded. And, you know, it was nice. It was nice to see, but it's been, the simultaneous streaming has been challenging. So.
Do I have a Zoom? Anybody on Zoom that have a question? I see the hands up, but I don't see them. Well, we'll go over to Gordon over here until we get that one done. Gordon?
Hi, nice to see you back again many, many times.
Congratulations on your award, Gordon, and your
Thank you.
service to the Oakmont Sunday Symposium.
Thank
You and Victor are my heroes.
Thanks, Raj. Talk about the relevance of Academy Awards in this era that we're in now. If we're not looking at the electrical union or the plumbers union or community AFL-CIO, why is this still an important thing for America to be involved in?
Well, I guess I would parrot that back to you is why is the Super Bowl important? You know, the Oscars are a celebration of the art of movie making, and they are a celebration of also, I mean, I feel of the communal movie-going experience, because when you go to the movies, you're surrendering yourself to the experience. You are in a room with a group of strangers, a lot less of them lately than it used to be, just FYI. You know, you have this shared experience and you become an audience. And it's a beautiful, magical thing. And I'm going to get on my soapbox here now for a minute, because one of the things that makes us crazy in the movie theater business is the fact that, you know, you have these streaming companies like, let's see, is there a ghost? Is like, I'm going to pick on Apple. Okay, so Apple goes to the Sundance Film Festival. They buy Coda for a record $25 million. So the filmmakers that made Coda didn't make a movie for a streaming service. They made a movie envisioning it to be seen in movie theaters. Virtually everybody who makes a movie, unless you're making like a Hallmark or a Lifetime made for television movie, envisions that their movie is going to be seen on the big screen in movie theaters. And so it doesn't seem right to me that as a streaming company, you can buy a film at a film festival and then actively work to keep your film out of movie theaters and still be eligible for an Oscar. Oscars are about movies. Movies are about movie theaters. If you want to just keep it for streaming, then you should be eligible for an Emmy, because streaming is television. And so Apple with Coda, they released the film in August of last year. They only released it in 15 theaters around the country. And then when one run would end, they would replace it so that they, you know, there were more than 15 theaters that played Coda, but it was very, very limited. And so when Coda became a Best Picture nominee, and by the way, I love the film. I think the film is fantastic. I think, you know, more people need to see the film. I wish it were more available, but Apple is really limiting us. We had to, in order to show Coda at the Rialto Cinemas in Sebastopol, I had to put together a festival of all 10 Best Picture nominees, because that was the only way Apple would give us Coda. So we played, last week, we played all 10 Best Picture nominees, and some of them we'd played before and we brought them back. And so we played Coda every single day. And then we convinced Apple to let us hold the film over. But today is the last day we can show Coda. So even if it wins Best Picture, tomorrow it won't be available. It'll only be available on Apple Plus. And I think that's wrong. And that's, I mean, maybe it's selfish, but I believe in going to the movies, and you all asked me to come speak, and this is my soapbox. So yes.
Let me take the microphone for a moment. If you're on Zoom, you need to use the chat to put your question in, and then we'll unmute you.
Okay.
Kai, I have one quick question.
Okay.
Other than Coda, what are you planning to show in the next month from this list?
Of the Best Picture nominees?
Yeah.
We're basically done with all of them. I mean, we've played them out. You know, if Power of the Dog wins, we might bring it back. You know, but virtually we've played most of them. We're at that moment where we've we've been playing these nominees since award season started back in January, and we're in the process of moving on. So we've got, pardon me, we've got, another Marvel action film opening on the 1st of April, Morbius, and then the Harry Potter film, Secrets of Fantastic Beasts, Secrets of Dumbledore. Pardon me. And then, I'm drawing a blank. I know we have more movies booked, but I can't think of them because I've been all weekend long. It's a colossal cluster, whatever, of scheduling. But this weekend, we had the Metropolitan Opera live in HD yesterday, 5 hours of Don Carlos. The Sebastopol Documentary Film Festival is with us all weekend. I'm here, and then we're producing an Oscar party this afternoon. So my brain is all in Oscars and film festival. So I'm sorry I don't have a better answer to your question, but let's go to you, ma'am.
My question was about the streaming that happens the first day and doesn't go to the theaters. Why would they negotiate that?
Why
Because
would,
new-
who is
new
the they?
subscriptions? People that own?
Do you mean the talent or the filmmakers or the studio?
No, the streaming people, they're paying for it to get new customers, basically.
Right.
So that's all Apple cared about.
Yeah, that's all they do care about. And it's really the talent and the producers that are pushing for theatrical releases. After 5 years of dealing with it, Netflix has finally figured it out, and they're giving their big prestige films like Power of the Dog, The Lost Daughter, to theaters before they appear on the service. But in the crush of the pandemic, there were a lot of decisions that got made that weren't necessarily in the interest of the movies or movie theaters, like Warner Brothers deciding to put all of their content on HBO Max for 30 days. That was very unpopular with a lot of the producers, the directors, the stars, and Warner Brothers ended up paying out a lot of money to the talent as bonuses because a lot of the deals for those movies were made with gross participation. And when you put the movie out on streaming, there's no gross from streaming. So, it was very unpopular with the talent pool. And, we're seeing that talent is insisting on theatrical releases, and we're grateful for that. I mean, also you saw, I don't know if you've caught this last summer, Scarlett Johansson sued the Walt Disney Company because Black Widow was on Disney Plus, and it cut the theatrical gross, which limited her gross participation pay. So there were decisions made that affected people's economics, and so hopefully the studios have learned something from that, but you never know. Next question.
We have a question from Gabriel. Gabriel?
Yes, thank you.
Get
I
to
was
see
wondering-
Gabriel?
Yeah, I'm on a Zoom. Your hand is waving, if you can.
Hi, Gabriel.
Hi. Thanks for your presentation and all you do. I was wondering if Pretty Problems, that just won the award from the Sonoma International Film Festival last evening and was shown there in Sonoma, was ever considered for an Oscar.
I don't know the answer to that, but I'll tell you, my guess is probably not, because most of the films that are in the film festival circuit haven't yet played theatrically because the festivals want them before, they go on regular runs in movie theaters. But I don't know the specifics of that film, so I will have to look that up. But it's a great question.
I don't understand CODA. What is it? I haven't heard anything about it.
So CODA is an acronym. It stands for Child of Deaf Adults. CODA is also the last piece of a piece of music. And it's about a girl who is the only member of her family that is hearing abled. So everyone else in her family is deaf. And she discovers a passion for singing, which, the members of her family, her parents and her brother don't understand at all because they can't hear. And so, but she gets recommended and accepted to go to college on a singing scholarship. And it's about the family dynamics the family operates, they live in a town on the coast of Massachusetts or Rhode Island, I forget which one, but it's on the English Sea, Atlantic, not English seaboard. Anyway, and they have a fishing business. And one of the things that the movie deals with is that there are rules, and I think it's the Coast Guard's rules, but I'm not 100% sure, about you have to have a hearing enabled person on the boat at all times. And so if she's gonna leave to go to college, how is the family business going to continue? And so it's a really great movie about a family, and it stars Marlee Matlin, who plays the mother, and Toby Kotzer, who plays the father. All the actors who are playing deaf people are deaf actors. And there are some, the movie has one of my favorite lines of the year in it, which is, and I don't know that I'm spoiling anything, but the family is at dinner and the son is on Tinder. And the daughter's going, well, if I can't listen to my music at dinner, why does he get to be on Tinder? And Marlee Matlin signs, because Tinder is something we can all do together as a family, because they pass the phone around. I just howled. I thought it was hilarious. Tinder being a family activity. Next question. Go ahead.
Yes. So I
Next.
want to ask you, it seems a few years ago, there was a big uproar about who would get to vote, and that they tried to make it less conservative, perhaps, or older voters
Right.
by
Well,
opening it up.
right.
How-
That's the
How has that changed lately?
Well, as I said earlier, the Academy's membership has grown by 65% over the past 10 years, and that they have been very focused on admitting a lot more female filmmakers, filmmakers of color, and filmmakers who are internationally based and not based in Los Angeles. And so because of this, we've had, in the last 4 years, we've had Best Picture nominees that are not in English 4 years in a row, which has never happened before. So the Academy is changing, and we're not, we only get to see the evidence of how the Academy is changing once a year when it becomes Oscar season. So there is a push, and especially with the international component, the international voters tend to be more interested in the more esoteric and more arty films. And so that's why you see Drive My Car as the best picture. It's part of what drives Power of the Dog as the best picture. And which is kind of working against what the Academy was trying to do when they went to 10 Best Picture nominees. They were trying to make the Best Picture category more populist. And it hasn't worked very well, in all honesty, because we end up getting, you know, a lot of really great movies nominated for Best Picture, but we're not getting, you know, the Spider-Man No Way Home. We're not getting the blockbuster movies nominated in the Best Picture category. And this is where you hit this intersection of we're celebrating art, but we're also producing a television show. And the Academy has a lot of challenges because the Academy has a lot of sacred cows in the Oscar broadcast. You know, there's always an in memoriam section. There's always the Jean Hirschfeld Humanitarian Award. There's always the Lifetime Achievement Award. There's all these things, and they've got something like 35 awards they've got to present. And ABC wants this all done in 3 hours. Well, we know that's impossible. And so this year they're giving away 8 of the Oscars between 4 and 5 before the ceremony goes live on television at 5. Supposedly we're going to get to see all those Oscar speeches during the 3-hour broadcast. But I don't understand why the Tony Awards has been doing this for years. They've figured out you do an hour on Paramount Plus, which is streaming, and then you put the 3-hour show, which is basically a great big giant commercial for Broadway theater and going to live theater on CBS for 3 hours. And, you know, it seems to me like the Oscars ought to be more focused on turning the show into a really good television show about celebrating going to the movies. And the Grammys, you know, the Grammys have a whole bunch of television shows. You know, they have the Grammys celebrate this and the Grammys celebrate that. And so, you know, their prime Grammy show is, you know, a music award show, but it's mostly performances. And so it seems to me like, you know, you could do like a spin-off special. The Oscars celebrate the music of film. You know, the Oscars celebrate, you know, cinematography or whatever. You could do these spin-off things that would celebrate the different various arts of filmmaking. But, oh, we have people peeping in the window. That hasn't happened before. Anyway, sorry, Zoomland, it's just a little strange. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, the Academy has its challenges. So, Victor, you had a question.
I have 2 questions. First of all, how could your business possibly survive the pandemic? And secondly, how many tickets are you selling these days compared to normal times?
Okay, great questions. So how did we survive the pandemic? Luck, pluck, and a lot of hard work is the quippy answer. We survived by, you know, I mean, we had no idea how long we would be closed. We thought originally we were going to be closed for a few weeks. When it started looking like it was months, you know, we were like, okay, we need to do some things to keep the brand, our brand in front of the customers. And so the very first thing we did was on Facebook, I started doing what we called Rialto Recommends, where every night I would tell people, okay, here's a great movie. Here's where you can watch it on streaming. You might have to rent it from Apple or Amazon or something, but, you know, I recommended, I think I did it for 400 days. Every single night I posted a recommendation. And, you know, some of them were films I loved. Some of them were films we'd shown in the past. Some of them I was commenting on current events. I did a whole thing on African-American focused films during the whole George Floyd, Black Lives Matter thing. And then we also, it became apparent, we applied for PPP, the Payroll Protection Program funds, and we brought everybody back on payroll. And we did that, but that was an 8-week program. And so there was, pardon me. And then there was like, okay, we're going to open in July. So we were like, okay, we're going to get ready. We're going to open in July. Tenant's going to come out. We're going to open in July. Great. And then tenant got pushed to September, and we're thinking we're going to open in for Labor Day. And then it was like, oh no, we're going to open in November. And we just kept moving. And so we started doing this goofy thing that I called popcorn pickup, where on Saturdays we sold popcorn and candy and soda, and we put plastic over the front doors so we could open the front doors and have a plastic shield between us and the customers, but we could push out popcorn. We actually sold a lot of popcorn, and we figured out how people could order in advance on Square. And I mean, it was not a lot of, I mean, I'm sure none of you who live out here in Oakmont came, because it's a schlep to Sebastopol to go buy popcorn. But we did that. And then we launched a GoFundMe campaign, which, thank you for your generous contribution, Victor. And all of you who contributed to our GoFundMe campaign, thank you from the bottom of my heart, because if we had not raised that money, we would have not survived. Because even though the government was promising to help, it took a long time for the SBA's Shuttered Venue Operator Grants, or as we call it, SVOG, to come into being. And so when we applied for SVOG in April of 2021, and we got funded in July of 2021. So we went, more than a year before we got any real substantial government assistance. And so now what's keeping us afloat is that subsidy. I mean, we're not selling enough tickets to survive. We're doing maybe 20-25% of what we used to do. The opera and some of those things are doing better than that, but the day in, day out movie going just isn't there. There's a lot of times people come and are like, there's nobody here. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. And then people will say to me, well, I don't want to come because it's going to be crowded. And I'm like, come. There's not that many people coming to the movies. We require proof of vaccination. We require masks. And because I have a friend who's a virologist with Stanford University Medical Center, and he tells me, stay the course. Stay the course. I mean, requiring proof of vaccination was the right thing to do. We had to do it in the East Bay because the counties commanded it, and so we did it up here. And it really surprised me that Sonoma County never mandated proof of vaccination, because it's not difficult. And the only way we're going to get through this is if everybody gets vaccinated. And so if you're not vaccinated, please get vaccinated. Encourage your friends and family to get vaccinated. And if you haven't been out to the movies, please come to the movies, because we really would love to see you. We need to see you. And and buy popcorn, because as I tell the kids, popcorn is what pays everybody. So, right now, like I said, we're surviving on some government assistance, but that government assistance is going to go away. It goes away at the end of June. So, we need people to come, but it's a chicken and egg problem, because we need good movies that people want to see. And then we need people to come see those movies. And so if you value, independent film, and film that is not, big, loud, noisy Marvel or Harry Potter or Star Wars, you have to support coming to see those movies in movie theaters. And this is not a selfless request. This is a very, it's in my own self-interest, but what they call in Hollywood the mid-budget film, the 40 to 50 million dollar movie that's, a drama that's really about something, those movies are in danger because those kinds of movies are going to be the ones that the studios go, we're not releasing that in theaters. We're only going to put that on streaming. But movie theaters can't survive if we're just playing what are called tentpole movies. We can't survive on Harry Potter and Marvel and Batman. And by the way, how many of you have seen the Batman? None of you. My only comment about Batman is, aren't there any lights in Gotham City? It's so dark. It's so dark. And this is the other thing. I'm gonna soapbox here for a moment. We don't need any more movies about the pandemic. We don't need any more movies about where the story is told completely on Zoom. We need movies that make people feel good, that you want to come see. And I hearken it back to 9/11. Because when 9/11 happened, we were showing a bunch of dramas. The Deep End was one of them, a couple others. I can't remember them all. But I have very clearly remember saying to Doug, my film buyer in LA, I said, we need comedies. We need things that make people feel good. And so we played a Clive Owen movie called Green Fingers about prisoners who get involved in the Royal Garden Show and a gardening program. We played a great Italian movie called Bread and Tulips. We played a wonderful documentary called Down from the Mountain, which was celebrating the music of the film Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? We really pivoted and into, movies that would, take people's mind off of, what was being fed to everybody 24 hours a day on the news cycle. And, it's the same thing. We need entertaining movies. So if you see something you think you might like to see in a movie theater, please go see it. Even if it's not my theater, please go see it, because the whole movie ecosystem is in danger at the moment.
Kai, can I leverage? I want to leverage off that.
Okay.
We have not been ready to go back to the theater.
I understand and respect that.
And we were regular attendees.
Thank
the
you.
movie we want to see on the screen is West Side Story.
And we're showing it.
And will you be showing it in 2 weeks?
Probably not. I'll probably be showing it at least through Thursday and maybe one more week, but it's kind of run its course. That could change. This evening could change a lot of things. I could tell you something right now, and then if it wins Best Picture, my answer is going to change. So one of the things I've learned about being in the movie business is that I have to be pragmatic. There are very few absolutes, except for Apple and Coda. I hope that we're still showing West Side Story in 2 weeks when you're ready to come to the theater. It's a wonderful movie. I have to be honest, I was skeptical. I was like, why do we need a remake of West Side Story? What is Steven Spielberg going to bring to this that, hasn't already been brought? But I think he did a great job. It's a wonderful film. It's wonderfully cast. I think the women are much better than the men in the film, which is a little bit problematic given the story. But Ariana DeBose is fantastic, and I hope she wins an Oscar tonight. How many of you have seen West Side Story? How many of you saw the original West Side Story? Fun fact. People say, well, it's too long. It's a minute shorter than the original version. But this brings me to one of my other points. You know, people are like, why are movies so long? And they are. I mean, have you noticed that? Movies have gotten a lot longer. Nobody makes a 90-minute or 100-minute movie anymore. Everybody makes a 2-hour, 2.5-hour movie. And I have no evidence to back this up, but my belief is it used to be when movies were shot on film, directors were given a print stock budget. So you have this many feet of film that you can shoot. So you have to tell your story within that many feet of film. And so now that they shoot on digital, there's no print stock budget and they shoot everything. And so there's no like, you know, okay, let's trim this down to the essentials. Let's tell this story with the most economy that we can. Things have gotten long and bloated. And, you know, my employees, they watch things and they're like, I could have taken 10 minutes out of that movie, or I could have taken 20 minutes out of that movie. I think the Batman, the comment was, I could have gotten 25 minutes out of that movie. You know, it's the longing gaze shot. I mean, how many of those do you need? You cut a few out, your movie won't run 3 hours. Shorter is better. I don't understand why people don't understand that, but whatever. Gordon, you had a question.
What you're talking about is people returning. We go out to 6th Street Theater, the Cinema, seen 3 or 4 since things have come back to normal. We go out to eat a couple times a week. Restaurants seem pretty crowded. Been the Symphony 3 times, not as big as that used to be, but it is coming back. Why hasn't movies come back yet?
It's the chicken and egg problem. Again, people are being cautious. We need movies they want to see. And, you know, it's the same thing. You know, the restaurants need people's support. The Symphony, the nonprofit theaters need people's support. And, you know, I think it's, in some ways, they've done a better job maybe of appealing to people, or, you know, but it's, you know, what we have to offer is what's available. And we've been doing some special things. Last week, we did the 50th anniversary showing of The Godfather. We played The Godfather for a week, beautiful restoration. And last Sunday, Michelle Anna Jordan came and cooked dinner. And we did a dinner for 35 people in the lobby, something we'd never done before. I mean, my kids we're not waiters. We're not, you know, used to serving people at tables, but we pulled it off. And I think it's something. Michelle was excited about it. It was an idea she had. She approached me and I'm like, sure, let's leverage Michelle's brand and get people to come see classic movies. And so we're probably going to do it again. And the week of April 1st, this is one answer to an earlier question. We are going to be bringing back Francis Ford Coppola's 1974 film, The Conversation, which, if you haven't seen The Conversation, this is a great opportunity to see it on the big screen. It's a great movie. It was shot in San Francisco. It stars Gene Hackman. Come see The Conversation, because this is probably one of your last chances to see it on the big screen. Okay, next question.
I have one quick.
Okay.
Kai, what's going on international films? Are they suffering in theaters as much as we are in the States? And do you see I want to say, a new genre of any kind coming in?
Well, internationally, movie theaters are suffering the same things. I forget what country it was. I think it was it France that no, it was Hong Kong. They had to shut down their movie theaters again. It's been challenging all over the world. But we are seeing, stories from other cultures. Drive My Car is only the 3rd Japanese film to be nominated for an Academy Award. And so it's we're seeing that. You know, we're seeing a resurgence in foreign films. We've had more in the last year than we've had in a while, which I think is a very good thing. But like I said, we're losing the mid-budget dramas, and there was a period there where it was like documentaries supplanted foreign language films, and that seems to be sort of rebalancing itself, although, you know, we still have seen some wonderful, wonderful documentaries. And speaking of documentaries, how many of you saw Summer of Soul? Okay. How many of you saw Flea? Okay. Flea is an amazing film, and it's an animated documentary, and it's the story of a young man and his family. They had to flee the Taliban, and they fled to Russia, and then they had to flee Russia. And he now lives in Copenhagen, the subject of the film. And one of the reasons the film is animated is to protect his anonymity, but also, you know, documentaries need footage. He didn't know, his family didn't know they were going to have to flee Afghanistan, so there's no footage. They didn't know they were going to have to flee Russia. And so by animating, they're able to tell this story. And it's a powerful story, and it's beautifully told. I believe it's streaming on Hulu. So if you have Hulu, check out Flea. It's a really, I saw it last September as part of I didn't go to Toronto. They had the Toronto International Film Festival, but they had it virtually. So I own a movie theater. I took over auditorium number 5 for the week in the evenings, and, you know, screened things for myself and Michael and a couple of people from the company. And we watched, you know, Toronto movies, and Flea was one of them. I didn't know, you know, what to expect of it, but it's the first film ever to be nominated simultaneously for Best International Feature, Best Documentary, and Best Animated Feature. I think it's going to lose documentary to Summer of Soul, because Questlove's Summer of Soul documentary was so popular and so well done. International feature, I really suspect Drive My Car is going to be the one that takes that award, but I'm hoping for Flea in animated, because it's, you know, it's a different kind of animated movie, and it's really worth checking out.
Well, that segues into my question, which is, would you talk about what you think are going to be winners tonight in the leading categories and why?
Sure. Okay. So Best Picture, I think it's going to be Coda, and it has to do with momentum. Coda picked up the PGA award a couple weeks ago, and it also picked up something else. I forget. If Coda wins, it will be the first Best Picture to win after premiering at the Sundance Film Festival. And so let's see, Best Actor, consensus seems to be that it's going to be Will Smith playing in King Richard, playing Venus and Serena Williams' father. Best Actress, I'm hoping it's Jessica Chastain for Eyes of Tammy Faye. How many of you saw Eyes of Tammy Faye? I like that movie a lot. Best Supporting Actress is likely to be Ariana DeBose for West Side Story. And Best Supporting Actor, I know this. Oh yeah, Coda, Troy Katsu. So, and Best Director is likely to be Jane Campion, which will be her second Oscar for directing, and and she's only the 3rd woman to be nominated twice for directing. So the others were Greta Gerwig and Catherine Bigelow. So those are my major category. Were there any other categories that I didn't mention that you were interested in? Well, producer is Best Picture. So that would be Coda, and director would be Jane Campion for Power of the Dog. How many of you saw Power of the Dog? Okay, did we like Power of the Dog? It's a divisive movie. And even though it has 12 Oscar nominations, the fact that, you know, the immediate reaction I got out of the 5 or 6 of you that have seen it was not overwhelmingly positive is probably the thing that's going to prevent Power of the Dog from winning Best Picture. Whereas Coda it's the feel-good movie we need right now. You know, yes.
I've been wanting to see Coda, but we already subscribe to 4 different, I mean, how many of these can we afford to, you know? So my question would be, how much money do you think Coda would have made had it played at your theater and around the country as compared to Apple TV? Not to mention that they've already paid, what you said, $25 million to get it. So that's right off the top.
It's an excellent question. How many streaming services can you afford? And there's going to be a shakeout. There's going to be a shakeout. Not all these, I mean, there's Netflix, they're going to survive. There's Disney Plus. I don't think that's going anywhere. There's HBO Max. There's Hulu, which is also owned by Disney, by the way. There's Amazon Prime. There's Apple TV. There's so many of them. And yeah, I mean, what's happening a lot of times is people are subscribing, they're watching what they want to watch, and then they're canceling that subscription and they're moving the money to another subscription service. And this is called churn. And so what's happening with the streaming services is there's a lot of churn going on. They're not necessarily building new subscribers that are going to be with them for the long term. People are subscribing, watching what they want, and canceling. For the second part of your question, as an independent film, I mean, we don't know what Coda's grossed, because this is the other problem with the streaming services. They do not allow their numbers to be reported. Whereas all the regular movies, you know, we subscribe to a service called Rent Track or ComScore. It used to be called Rent Track, now it's called ComScore. I don't know why. Anyway, you know, so I see how movies are doing in other theaters around the country and how they're doing overall, as do all the other exhibitors. But with the streaming movies, we don't get that information. And so it's hard to pick a number for Coda, but I would think that it would have been, you know, a $30 or $40 million movie, you know, which would justify that kind of price. And how many of you know that Coda is a remake? It was originally a French film, and the French film was made with hearing actors playing deaf. And so it was remade, and apparently the Coda is much better than the French film that it was inspired by. So, but yeah, that's the other thing. 5 of this year's Best Picture nominees are remakes. Yep, Coda, West Side Story, Nightmare Alley, Dune. What's the 5th one? What is the 5th one? I don't remember. Oh, so some other little things I wanted to share with you. Now, how many of you saw Belfast? Did we like Belfast? Okay, so Belfast could be the spoiler in the Best Picture Derby, because it has a lot of fans. It has a lot of international fans. It's a very personal story. The Academy likes personal stories. And Belfast won the Audience Award at the Toronto International Film Festival. And I thought this was interesting. It's when the Toronto People's Choice Award is noteworthy. Not a single winner of the TIFF prize, when it musters an Oscar nomination for Best Picture, has gone home empty-handed. The last few have been Nomadland, Jojo Rabbit, Green Book, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, La La Land, Room, and The Imitation Game. All of those films have won Oscars in one category or another, have been nominated and won Oscars in one category or another. So Belfast could be the, a spoiler, sort of like Moonlight was a few years ago. How many of you expected Moonlight to win Best Picture? That was a surprise. So anyway, any other questions? Am I about out of time, or
We are. We have
I've
one
no-
more question.
The movie that we were speaking about that had been a remake.
Coda,
No.
Nightmare Alley?
Nightmare Alley. The original is available on YouTube with Tyrone Power,
Yeah,
and it's great.
it is. How many of you saw the original Nightmare Alley? Okay. Yeah, well, it is a remake, and interesting because Nightmare Alley, it was the new version was released originally in color, and then they made a black and white version, which is Vision in Darkness and Light. They took the color footage and made it black and white, as opposed to Belfast, which was shot in black and white originally and intentionally. So, you can do that either way, but there are not a lot of black and white films that have, been nominated for Best Picture. One was Roma, one was Good Night and Good Luck. How many of you remember George Clooney's Good Night and Good Luck? That was a great movie. Love that movie. Okay. Thank you very much.
Well, we want to thank you, Kai.
It's always a pleasure to be here. I'm sorry I'm not at my best today, but
Number 20, right down there. This is our 20th visit with Kai. Thank you, Kai.
thank you. Thank you to
Love
everyone
having
in
you here.
Zoom land.